Okay, so let's talk about shading. So what I have here is my structure. I've drawn everything, I've done all my sighting, I've used my grids and my center lines and all that kind of stuff. What we want to do is we still want to be able to see at least our delineating lines, not necessarily our work lines. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to erase all my work lines on the outsides edges. And then I'm going to lightly erase everything, because what we're trying to do, and I'm going to lightly erase it to a point where, you may not even be able to see it. No, actually you can. You can probably see it actually better on the camera than I can in real life in this slightly darkened room. But remember that we are taking this step where we are defining our objects by shading and no longer by line, okay? So what we want to do is we want to have these lines very lightly as our guides and then look at our object and go from that. So what we don't want to do is, let's say, we don't want to have our box like this and go, okay, this is this color, and this is lighter. But have these lines be really dark. We don't want it to be a coloring book. We want to have the difference between this surface and this surface be just the difference, not having the line define them, okay? So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna look at this and I'm gonna make a little small. I'm trying to see where my pencil is. There we are. I'm going to make a little small diagram here. And forgive me, I'm trying to hold one at the other. This is shakier than usual. And I'm going to look at my object here. Now this is to my eye, and then look at my value chart and try to figure out different tones. So I would say the top for me, now this is, I'm using my eye to compare what I'm seeing to my value chart. So I think the top of this is about like that 12.25, like right here. So I'm gonna go here on my little chart and I'm gonna go 12 and a half. All right, this is going to be pretty much so 0 here. I'm going to look at the far side right here. Now, to my eye, it's going to be different than how it is in the camera. As I'm looking at it, I think I would go about 50. So I'm going to go here and mark it as 50. Now there are going to be variations too. It's a little bit, where's my pencil here? There we go. It's a little bit lighter here than it is over here. You are going to have variations. It isn't going to be perfectly the same tone on it, but that's just to give us a feeling. Now I'm going to look at the cylinder and just kind of see where I'm starting over here. And I'm going to guess it's about 25. So I'm just going to make, this is a little value thumbnail here. Okay, something to kind of go by. All right, let me put this back in its thing here. Okay, and there we are. Okay, so now I'm going to do this a lot quicker than I would expect you guys to. Okay, so I'm using my lines as guides. The funny thing is, I think you can see them better than I can in this light. Now granted, I'm also drawing smaller so that you can see them better. My camera is very close to the surface here. And I'm going to turn this a little bit here. So it's easier for me to cover this area with a stroke of the pencil the way I am. Now, if you happen to go, hey man, I drew a little bit out here a little bit. Guess what? This is where drawing with an eraser helps. can really crisp up those lines. Oh, it actually goes right to here. So I have to look a little bit closer here. I'm having a little trouble seeing in this dim light. There we go. Okay. And then over here, we're going to have a little bit, we're going to have darker. I'm going to try to figure out how I want to, what direction I want to go with this. Now remember, this is the one where I'm going 50. Remember that we're just building up. So we're just doing this very, very gradually. Where's my corner? There it is. Okay. We're doing this very, very gradually. Now, as I already said, it's a lot easier for me to cover this area with one pencil stroke. And I'm just sort of moving my arm back and forth a little bit like this. Obviously, I'm also turning my arm so I can have a natural movement either from my wrist or my elbow. And like I said, I'm doing this a lot quicker than I expect you guys to. Okay, so I've got that. All right, let's go over to, that's just sort of my base stuff down. All right, so we're going to go over to the cylinder. And as I'm looking at it, I'm just doing gradual buildup. Now the thing we'll notice with the cylinder is that we're going to have a bright area of light right here a lot of times that will is where we sort of have our direct light hitting. And then, so we've got that. A little bit of less light here. Now we also have our, I'm doing this very, very quickly. We have our kind of, now sometimes we'll have a little bit of line, like we have a little bit of darkness right there. We get some darkness right here. So you have to look for these small variations. And what happens, like I said, doing this very quickly. And the other thing you're going to see too is that you know what, that's a little too dark. I don't like that. Yeah. That's a little too dark. And you know what? I was going in a couple different directions here, and I really should just stick to one. And we have a little bit of darkness right under here that's kind of the shadow. Now, one thing we're going to look at too, and the things I'm going to draw as well, is I'm going to look and kind of see like there are certainly darker areas right here for me that are just where one tone mixes with the other, or just before it changes. There is a little bit of a shadow underneath here, a little bit here, but I'm going to, remember, we want to make these not just shapes but objects. So I'm drawing in the fold right there that I've got, and we have just a little bit of a shadow right here. Now, like I said, I'm doing this very quickly and very incompletely, but so here's the other thing that happens that you will get sometimes is you will get some bounce back. So actually, off of this white surface going up like here, this part of the cylinder is actually getting some light bouncing back to it. So I'm going to lighten that up. I might have to even it off a little bit, but I can tell that it's definitely lighter over there. And you know what? I'm getting on the paper I'm using, which is not drawing paper, I'm getting some smearing from this eraser, unfortunately. So all of that would need to be cleaned up. Remember, we don't want to have sort of rubbing happening. So, all right. So there's my basic tone right now. Okay. So let's talk about thrown shadows. Thrown shadows are the ones that, when we look at our thing right here, are the ones that are on the surface of the